Hello and welcome back to Bull Riding Inside and Out for the first day one recap of the Kansas City Invitational.
Well, hello, Ethan, our insider. I'm really excited. We had a great night, first round in Kansas City. I'm kind of interested in revisiting some of your predictions and what happened. It was really exciting. Kansas City brought the crowds tonight. A good atmosphere. Would you
It's
say?
like they went straight from the Super Bowl right to the Sprint Center.
They did. They did. A lot of people. The energy was good, exciting. I thought it was a good round of bull riding, but really one of the things we want to ask in the recap session, this being our second episode of Bull Riding Inside and Out, is who do you think owned the night, the riders or the bulls?
And I would have to agree with you that it was a really great night of bull riding, especially when the bulls did so well. There were only 10 rides out of 35 attempts from the riders tonight, but when the riders were on, gosh darn it, they were on.
Okay. You said something to me after kind of our first show about why you actually predicted it was going to be the Bulls' night. Why did that come to pass?
Well, it is an ABBI night, which means the bulls are younger, they're less experienced, which also means there's less tape on the bulls for riders to study. So that means you're going to be having bulls that are either coming up from the minor leagues or only have had 1 to about 3 outs on the major tour this season.
Okay. And you talked about some of those ABBI bulls in our pre-show, and one of them wound up taking the night for the highest scored ride. Is that correct?
The current Yeti bull of the event right now is riding solo from Cord McCoy and Steve Best. Had a great out of 45 and a quarter going up against Silvano Alves, and it was early in the night, but it was a great out from the bull, and the judges did not skimp out on the score.
Well, you were right. This is the bull, one of the 3 bulls from the ABBI that you said was going to have a good round, and here it came to pass. So, great. Well, another thing is you talked about some riders who had to perform and come up big, and did that happen tonight?
Well, they were either listening or they had a chip on their shoulder because the Bubble Boys showed out. Especially the 3 that I pointed out. Jake Lockwood, the 35th rider, only half a point above that threshold, made a qualified ride. Not the biggest score, but big enough to get crucial points, 84 and a quarter. And then Brendan Eldred came in second in the round, looked like he was going to win the round, had the lead the whole time, finished with 88. Now he went from outside the top 35 to inside the top 35, right in the nick of time. And then Ezekiel Mitchell on one of the bulls I previewed, OK Brand. OK Brand still had a very hard night, not his best night, but it was good enough for Ezekiel Mitchell to hit the Dougie after getting an 87 and 3/4 point score.
He did. He looked like he was holding on for dear life through that ride, and he needed it, and that grit just pulled out for him.
Yeah, that grit, and he pulled back the charisma that we have grown to know Ezekiel Mitchell for, and why we're all fans of him.
As you said, there weren't too many rides. Were there any riders who got injured or who had struggled tonight that stuck out to you?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is the cut week, and Brendan Eldred's fortune is a lot of others' misfortune, because while he was able to convert and get inside that top 35, everyone else who was outside of the top 35 stayed outside of the top 35 because of a buck off. And unfortunately, there were a bunch of injuries, none more wild than maybe Allison De Sosa, who got his ankle stuck in there, and Rubens Barbosa, who got heavily concussed and might have broken his jaw.
Scary moment for sure. It could have been a lot worse. He had his helmet on. We'll hope for the best out of that medical report, and he comes back okay.
It was astonishing, and completely admirable to see him get out and walk in a matter of minutes from it happening.
Yes, and as you pointed out, the bull kind of hesitated coming out, maybe hip checked at the gate. That threw him off and was a setup.
Yeah. So the bull came out, spun, hit the back of the gate, then kind of had to hit a stutter step to set up a big, bodacious-like front teeter-totter effect to kind of slant Rubens right in, like head-to-head contact.
Head-to-head. Very, very scary, but some helmet protection. Hopefully it won't be as bad as it looked, but...
the progression of helmets in the last decade. Thank you so much to those people.
You can see it. So, what else do we want to cover in this recap session?
Well, I did mention it earlier that Brennan Eldred looked like he was going to win the round for so long of that event. Probably rode in the second section, then held on to it for the second to very last ride. But then, one man that I said in my picks for the round, Jess Lockwood, rode for 90.5 points, going 90 in the first round. Very hard to do at a PBR event, especially in an ABBI Classic night. But the bull had a repeat performance of what it had in Oklahoma City, and Jess Lockwood, spurred with his outside foot, marked highly over the bull to get that 47-point rider score and 90-point score on the evening.
It was just amazing. And as the the bull riding outsider, I watched a lot of riders struggle, trying to stay on, trying to keep scores. The riding was so tough. We saw a re-ride option for one of the riders that went unclaimed because take the score in a round like this.
Yeah, it's all about that strategy. 15 guys qualify for the championship round. Only 10 guys. If you can get 2 scores, like Ramon de Lima chose to do, it's a safe bet, maybe. But not when there's guys like Jess Lockwood riding for 90 points.
Well, as an outsider, watching all the rides and then seeing Jess Lockwood come up, he just looked so composed, so poised, so professional. He owned that round.
Yeah, he has that natural flair, charisma in his style of riding, and that's what the new scoring system will reward. He gained points on Jose Vitor Leme after Jose Vitor Leme won the WCRA Bull Riding Classic last night, but a guy who did not own the moment was Jose Vitor as he bucked off in a surprising turn of events. The bull kind of got lost in the chutes, but you just have to stick it out for that re-ride.
I think we all were surprised to see that. You've talked about the top 2 rides of the night. Do you want to round out the top 5 riders of the round?
Well, we have Jess Brennan and Ezekiel Mitchell, but Aaron Clyer, the reigning Australian champion, was able to get the first ride of the night, and it was a good score of 87.25. A bull that Eduardo Aparecido rode in New York for the first round win of the season, but in this round, not good enough to get in that top 3, but still a very solid ride. And Lucas Divino, 86 points, solid ride to get in that top 5.
Okay, so those guys are definitely sitting in good shape going into tomorrow's event.
Yeah.
The 15 for 15 going on. And then what do you see tomorrow as far as previews for matchups? I mean, we're only part of the way through this. We've still got another round and a championship round. A lot of bull riding to go. A lot can happen.
Well, I'm glad you asked because Dalen Swearingen, he bucked off in round 1, but he has a great matchup on Sling and Tears. This is a bull that Jose Vitor Leme rode twice for upwards of 89 points in Manchester. And with Swearingen's style, similar to a Leme or a Lockwood, could get to the championship round on 1 score.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll be watching for that one.
And then another guy in the top 3 that we haven't talked about, Joao Ricardo Vieira, did get a score in round 1, only about 84, so not to the level of Jess Lockwood, but he could get a second score on Scarf Race, and then maybe in that 87-point range, and get a solid top 5 pick in the championship round tomorrow. And then Lucas Divino, who is a top 5 rider today, he has Jack Wilson. Like, that's a bull, big lumbering style that fits Lucas Divino, of a big, strong rider trying to not necessarily outmuscle those bulls, but counter-punch the bulls. Maybe an 85-point ride to put 2 scores on the board and get a good draft pick for that draft round in the championship round.
So really interesting. It's almost like you're describing 2 routes to the championship of this event. One is the steady, consistent riders. You talked about Denner Barbosa having that in the preview, and sure enough, he did. He had a middle round score.
And that even parlayed to some success in the 15-15 bucking battle.
Exactly. And so will it be the 90-point rides or the slow, smooth, consistent rides that take home the championship? What do you think?
For a PBR outsider, I love the way that you're able to catch up on that. Because back in the day, you had JB Mooney, the big flashy rider, trying to get those championships. But then you had Silvano Alves not taking the rear ride, getting those consistent round placings, winning events on the aggregate side of it, and then claiming 3 world championships. Now that's the kind of style that we've gotten into in the last decade of PBR. And I do think that you need to win. You need to ride all of your bulls. You saw it last week with Jose Vitor Lemi. He has that perfect style of doing it well enough, but staying consistent. He's not 80% anymore, but he is so close. He is like 75 still. And so you have to ride all of your bulls in any given weekend to win the event.
Good point. Well, don't give me too much credit as the outsider because I'm just absorbing what I'm learning here. So very exciting. Well, I have really enjoyed our recap, our episode 2 of Bull Riding Inside and Out. Where are we headed to next week?
We are going to Duluth, Georgia. We will be previewing that on Friday
night, probably.
Yeah.
We're going to be maybe traveling a little of our own, so it may just be a preview, then we'll have to take a break. It's kind of a shame. I was excited. We just got started. We're having fun with this. We may have to put it on hold for a little bit. But hey, thank you for joining us and being a part of this. We're going to keep doing this and bring it out more, bring more knowledge. I'm loving it. Our insider, Ethan Brown, has brought the predictions, the recaps, the summaries. It's been a great time. We'll see you next time. Thank you.